And we were betting. I mean, all of us who are activists in the Dalit movement, in the caste movement, we don't think he's got the courage and the guts to deal with this issue. He's dealt with everything, bride burning, dowry, this, that, everything, polluted water, fake medicine and all. He doesn't have the courage. He won't do it. But 3 weeks before the show closes, 52 minutes, primetime India, 600 million Indians watch untouchability and the Dalit issue. He goes to the city and he interviews these upper caste elite Indians who are here in Canada and North America, and you talk to them and they say, no, it's not there, there's no untouchability, nothing. And then he switches off to a professor in New Delhi University, Dalit woman, and she tells how she's facing discrimination there. And then he goes on and he shows caste in Islam, he shows caste in Buddhism, he shows caste in Hinduism, and I've talked before about the shame of caste in the church. He shows that.
Church,
yeah.
you hear that?
Yeah, in the church, because it's just like racism that was in the church we had to deal with, and the apartheid system. So it's in the church. We are battling that. But he then finally takes on one issue. We have taken the whole Devadasi issue because it's a much bigger issue to deal with as our present campaign. But we've been also involved in bringing an end to manual scavenging. You know what's manual scavenging?
No.
Dalits by birth are said, this is your caste duty. You have to clean everybody's toilet. By hand, and ladies carry this thing on their head, and they work.
That was represented in Slumdog Millionaire.
Absolutely,
right?
Yeah, movie. And when that kid jumps into that cesspool, it's not a story; it is a reality. So the Bollywood star says, "Okay, I've explained to you the whole thing, but today we're going to take one campaign, and we're going to take the manual scavenging, and we're going to really campaign, and we're going to end it." And the Indian government now, we are no more in the opposition. 10 years ago we were. Now they are our allies. So the Indian government says to the Bollywood guys and all, come to the cabinet meeting, represent this thing. Within 2-3 weeks of that show, the cabinet passes a bill which now will, anybody who uses a manual scavenger, 5 years of rigorous punishment. Along with that, the government now gives them money to rehabilitate them. So we are thankful to God that major victory has taken place. Now, of course, the next battle.
That is huge. This book talks about tragic chapters where we as a church have failed. One quote, "When the church fails to act in truth, justice, and courage at historic times of evil against humanity, it signs its own death warrant for subsequent generations."
Absolutely, and the classic case is Europe, and the classic story is the Holocaust. They were great Christians and great believers, Bonhoeffer and others who stood up. But the vast majority of Christians thought this is not part of our kingdom mandate. And the world was watching, Europe was watching. And what did we? We shut our mouth, we didn't act, we were not willing to be martyred, we didn't want to fight. Unlike Jesus, who took on the Pharisees, he fought for the Samaritan, he changed his work. I mean, Jesus would not have been crucified if he had not been about justice and righteousness. And so we had an historic opportunity during the Holocaust, I believe, to influence the world 100 times over. We backed out. And look at what has happened to Christianity in Europe. How can you believe? Is this real? So that's the context in which we say. And if we, as the global church, don't do anything now about the caste system, believe me, we will pay for it very severely. But the encouraging thing is, 10 years on, I know the church, even though it's small, is delivering. And we are under attack. I mean, this interview I did a year or 2 years ago has been attacked by the guys who don't like this. And there's a whole book out called Breaking India. And we are now being accused of breaking India because of this campaign. What they don't recognize is caste is what has broken India. And our faith and our Christ, who unites humanity, is what is going to unite and build India.
We have just warmed you up for what is a thesis, a theological treatise that is going to move you. Now, here's something encouraging. Prayer, you say, Dr. D'Souza, is always the starting point, and it is a form of advocacy. There are some watching who, no matter how much they're going to enjoy this book, are not going to be able to testify, to witness, to advocate, to that they are going to be able to pray.
Absolutely. And you know, that's the first advocacy we need to do. And Jesus is always the great advocate, right? What is he praying for? He's praying for our salvation, but he's also praying for unrighteousness in the world and evil to be defeated. So he's always there praying. And so we call people to pray and to respond, and to the extent available, join us in the struggle for freeing children and freeing women. Why these two? Because they are the primary victims of the caste system. And Dalit Freedom Network is singularly focused, because when you pluck a child, you save him forever. If you leave a child and come 15 years down the road when the girl has been abused and raped, it takes a whole life to then fix what has been broken. And so that's what it is. And absolutely, without prayer, you know, and pray for us. Pray for Dalit Freedom Network, pray for myself, family. We know some of the spiritual attacks that we have faced in the last 18 months. I never expected would happen in my life.
Dr. D'Souza, also involved with Operation Mobilization. George Verwer, founder, was here recently. He said, "This is a biblical, cutting-edge presentation of truth greatly neglected by many, including me. We must see how justice and human rights come together with proclamation and discipleship, and this book will help us do just that." It is at our e-store. Here's the information. I so encourage you to read this. It's such a critical time in history, and we don't want to miss any of God's purpose, his good purpose in and through us. Allow Dr. D'Souza to make this case, and the Lord, by his word, to reach your heart. Dr. D'Souza, we will be praying for you. Come back as often as you can.
I will. Next time I come, I got some big news for you all. Very big news.
Well, don't make us wait too long.
There's a movie coming out, a Christian faith-based movie, a Slumdog equivalent. We're hoping to have a premiere release screening here in November. I'm just working out on the dates. As soon as that is done, you're going to love it. It's done. The movie is done.
Will you keep praying?